My business start was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I went for my master's to Marquette University, fresh off the boat from New Delhi. Got started right after I graduated with a company called ADT and become a salesman, a commission-only salesman with an engineering master's. So it was a lot of fun. And in the process, I got lucky, did well, and they got me my green card and I stayed. I moved to Europe for 6 years. So it was 6 years with ADT, 6 years in Europe, in Brussels, Belgium, where I worked for a company called ITT, International Telephone and Telegraph. At the time, they were the largest company in the world, run by a legendary figure called Harold Janine. Anybody who knows that name, they're probably as old as me or older. So it was a fascinating company to work for. I was headhunted to come back to work for a company called Extel in the business of communicating word processors and telex machines, an industry that's long dead. But back in the early 80s, it was still a thriving business. So I came and joined them as the head of sales and marketing and customer service. After that, that was another 6 years. And then I got to a point in my life as I was approaching the age of 40 where I was living I call it, this is my theory of the entrepreneurial gene, which is really not a gene because you don't inherit it, it's a virus. And if you're infected with that entrepreneurial virus and you don't do your own thing, you live life like a caged animal. And so I had been living life like a caged animal for 18 years. And finally I decided I was going to do my own thing. I had gotten enough experience. I'd seen a window of opportunity in the deregulating telecom space because I'd been in that space for the last 7-8 years. So I decided to quit my job. My family, my friends thought I was crazy quitting this very highly paid job, but I called it high-paid wage slavery. And then I decided to start my own company. Moved to Seattle, started the company, grew it to $250 million in the space of 5 years, took it public, sold it, retired, came out of retirement, moved to Houston to be president of Enron. I was the president of Enron for a year, and I left because I was back to working, and I felt that if I was going to work, I wanted to do what I like to do best, which is do my own thing. So I went off and started a company called Trexcom, was fortunate enough to sell that in 2.5 years, started another company, sold that, then sort of retired for the second time. When I sold my last company in 2003, I was sort of wondering, what do I do next? I hadn't yet dived into Thai. If Thai had been around, maybe I might not have done it. But I was always sort of intrigued by the art and the science of movie making. I had the opportunity of getting involved in a movie called My Bollywood Bride. That movie ran into terrible trouble. It was the most mismanaged project I've ever been involved in. I had to step in and rescue it. And in the process, I thought to myself, this turned out pretty well, this movie. So I said to myself, what if you made a movie without these problems? Wouldn't it be much better? After My Bollywood Bride, I made a couple of other movies, The Whisperers and Before the Rains. All of these movies, by the way, are available on Netflix. And I don't make a dime if you go watch the movie on Netflix, but do watch it because they're fun movies to watch. I was introduced to Thai in 2002, and they contacted me saying, oh, we have heard you can speak or whatever. And that was the first exposure I had to Thai, because most of my business life I had lived outside of the periphery of that Silicon Valley Indian startup, magic. Pretty soon I was engaged with Thai globally, would visit chapters worldwide to deliver speeches. People would invite me. The first one I ever did was, I remember going to Arizona, and the bribe was I would come and play Greyhawk for a round of golf would be my payment for coming out and speaking. And ever since then, I've been all across the globe. I've been to 49 chapters. This chapter has done very well. I was president of the local chapter for 4 years, and then I was chairman of Thai Global for 4 years. It's been a lot of fun. Thai was formed by a bunch of guys in Silicon Valley to give back to aspiring entrepreneurs. Don't forget, this is early 90s. To be Indian was not cool like it is today. India was a land of snake charmers and elephants and poverty-stricken. There was no India rising, India shining, incredible India. There were some glass ceilings that Indian entrepreneurs, Indian technical folks had that it was hard to break. And some of these guys in Silicon Valley had broken them. But they realized that they were a rare breed, and they wanted to give back to all of those other aspiring entrepreneurs who wanted to keep going up, either through mentoring or networking or investing in them. And so they came together to create TIE as a purely altruistic organization, paying it forward, as I like to call it. You can really get access to great information, techniques, people, money through connecting with venture capitalists. When I started my company back in 1990, I had no way of connecting with a venture capitalist. I had to bootstrap it. And the internet, plus the easy access to information, plus the availability of mentoring organizations such as TIE, is the difference why it is now a very level playing field. You don't need the guru, though it is handy to have a guru. It's handy to have someone who has made those mistakes and can help you avoid making the mistakes that they made. Like I keep saying, I wish the me of today had been sitting on the shoulder of the me of 30 years ago. And how much better might I have done? I'm quite impulsive. So it's not a matter of I needed to keep going. I'm very happy spending 3 days just reading books, doing nothing but sitting on the couch and reading a book. But I haven't tried it past 3 days, so I don't know how I'd feel. If there is anything, I'd love people to remember me as being a good dad, good husband, good friend, and that's enough.